Here we go with another unboxing video. Again, I'm working on print on demand for one of my products. In this case, it is Dragons Beyond. Amazingly, I wrote an entire RPG in the time it took to get from digital to getting back around to print on demand. There are numerous reasons for that, including my thought that the images all had to be an equal number of DPI, which was not necessarily correct, and some other things. And what really got the ball rolling again was that Men in Metal, which is very short, a war game, a revision of WRG versions 1 and 2 and the medieval supplement. This turned out so well and was not that difficult that it gave me confidence to move forward. Images in here turned out okay. So then I moved forward with Midwest Fantasy Wargame, which was nearing completion of the digital version number 2. And so I got a proof of this just a couple of days ago. Still need to read through it. I'm going to do some playthroughs while my wife is off at the mall with my youngest child. Let's take a look at Dragons Beyond. It is still problematic because I made a number of layout choices and just didn't have any consideration for ever getting to this print-on-demand point. And I caught the mail guy. The mail guy this morning did not want to get out of his car, and I can understand why. He shoved this in the mailbox and ran out there and got it before it could get bent. Well, I am already super impressed with this. I've got to go get my dog. He's at the back door barking. I don't want to leave him out in the cold for a long time, and it will cause me undue stress if I try to do a flip-through without getting him inside. But just first impressions of the cover. The artwork here in the corner, it's a little bit too small to have a great deal of detail, but it still seems to convey the thing. I do like the wood grain box, how that's turned out here. I do like the brown and the red. Oh wow, this is much more centered than it looked on the. Notice how there's just barely any wood grain on the top and there's more wood grain on the bottom, but it's closer than it looked on the online proof. Again, we have an ISBN number that's been issued by Amazon, and oh, there it is, the front. This looks so good. Now, hardbound, I've been watching a couple of videos, and it looks like to do hardbound for this, I should go with glossy instead of matte because it makes the colors pop a little bit more, but I don't know that that matters with this color scheme. I love the cover image. The wood grain, yeah, it's very consistent. You can't tell, but the wood grain on the back and the grains on the side and the grains on the front don't all line up. And that's okay because it doesn't look like you're going to be able to tell. But you do get that feel that this was a wood grain box with a sticker slapped on, just like the original OD&D box set. Well, before we look inside, let me go get my puppies in the house. Okay, the puppies are inside after a little bit of nonsense, but didn't require too much effort. Okay, the thickness. So this book is definitely thicker than Midwest Fantasy because it's about 100 pages longer. Total page count here, oh no, that's wrong. Total page count here is 325, whereas Midwest Fantasy is right at 253. I have heard now that Amazon rounds to the nearest 10 pages when it gives you the template for this. So that could also explain why the spine is a little bit off. It could also be that I put in something wrong. I don't need to adjust the bleed. Everything's going to the edge. Yeah, everything's good there. Bindings are a little bit different for the hardcover than the softcover. For the hardcover, they do a cloth binding inside of the book, but for paper back, they don't do that. Still looks good. I don't know how these hold up, but yeah, well, okay. Let's go through this and figure out which images might need to be adjusted. This is interesting. So it gave me another copy of my front page and my back page. This could be my error. I don't think so. I don't recall having these pages in there. Maybe I did. And that would throw things off by just a few pages, but not much. Okay, so I'm going to sit down. It's a little bit awkward where I'm at with the camera. I think, yeah, they're centered up. Let me get my computer a little bit more out of the way. Here we go. Table of contents, boring, but it's important. It's important, but it's not where we want. List of tables. Here's the first of the 3 volumes, right? We're trying to do the same thing that the original box set had with 3 volumes. So I considered printing these things separately, but decided against it. It would just be too much trouble. Forward in here, that looks good. Of course, this John Hunaday picture looks good. Yes, this was down at the bottom, but the bleed seems fine. Doesn't matter that it's near the edge. This image of the dwarf looks good. Yes, the elf. Human, the halfling's a little bit in the gutter. Might want to move him over a little bit. And again, all these are open source images. And all of the credits. This looks great. So I ginned this up on my own typewriter, my electronic Smith Corona, because the original Beyond This Point Be Dragons draft from 1973 that came to us via Mark Buffkin. It was found, two different copies of it were found. But there was an example for Mithrander. Obviously, I can't do that, so I redid it as Grey Wanderer, so there would be no Tolkien estate nonsense. And then the original draft had red underlines. So, I ginned this up to look almost exactly the same as the original. It took a little bit of effort, but it was worth it. I have a manual typewriter now, too. And I would love to do one of those mini RPGs. Look, the bleed on this is fine. It doesn't matter that a little bit of this, the gutter, this is like the guy that's up. What do you call that when they're open air funeral? Air funeral? No, that's not it. Air. It'll come to me later. Oh, good. The axe head is close to the gutter, but you can still see the full axe head here, the way it's printed. These tables were such a pain in the bottom to get aligned and print, and you have no idea how much monkeying around I had to do, and I am so glad to see that they turned out a-okay. This stuff, Dover Publications, they, interestingly enough, I've got one on medieval arms and armor, and that's where this came from. Dover, if you get their publications, you can reuse their artwork. It's interesting. Yeah. Burgonette here. Those look good. This is right up to the edge. It does have a border, so I might want to remove some of the spacing around this. There's usually like a couple pixels, and move it in just a little bit. This one, yeah, it's close to the gutter, but it's not. That looks good. Ah, look at this. It cut off Sinister over here. Sinister and Dexter. Gotta know your Latin. Don't want the kids coming out of this game without any learning. Yep, we got the heroic combat here. This is the arms and armor stuff. Again, I saw an email. I saw a video yesterday about a guy that was trying to debunk ring mail, and I just don't buy it. Same thing with studded. And these illustrations go back to the 19th century that Gary Gygax found. So here's examples of banded. So although, you've got these debunkers on the internet, I'm not sure that they are going back and looking at potentially what would be possibly even transitional forms of armor. Like ringmail is obviously a precursor to chainmail, but then again, it's much easier to manufacture. I'm getting way deep in the weeds. The whole point of this flip through is just to see what the artwork looks like and to make sure what I've got to adjust. Grappling hook. This map is pretty small, but it's still on there. Anyway, I'm leaving it because this is an authentic medieval map. Skull and crossbones looks good. Tent keys. Little beaver action there for you. This table, something just struck me wrong about this table. Oh, it's just because the accommodations of such a large block. Can't get around that. So these tables of equipment, they came from consolidating the earliest sources on equipment and looking at what was most likely to come up during a campaign. Availability of goods. Yes. The red, I need to make my designer notes bold uniformly. Oh, good. Yeah. So the bleed works. Look, this comes up to the edge as it's supposed to. There's just a very, very minor border for this. But yeah, as a background image. And I had one comment. One of the few reviews on Dragons Beyond is complaining about this image. I think it's quite clear, even in the digital, that background image is not overwhelming the foreground image. I don't know if you can tell this in this video, but basically this Hoda and an elephant, and he's got a dude upside down in his trunk, and dudes surrounding him. It's almost too light in the print version. In the digital version, it looks great to me. Same thing here. You've got some dudes trading. And again, this goes all the way to the edge of the page. It looks good to me. It does not overwhelm the table, but it provides just a little bit more, oh, good. This one came to the edge too. This one with the griffin hatching, or the rock hatching. Yeah, and this one of this saint, which I reused this image in The Usual Monsters, not yet published, but you'll see it soon. Where are we at? We're at 100 pages. I'm going to just keep going. All of these images seem to be, this one almost looks 3D. It does in the digital version too, but even more so on the page. That's pretty cool. Yep, this is the Battle of Varna. Dude, mercenary just having a little bit of a break. Assassin, sage, armor. I like the layout here. This was the first one that I did for layout. This preceded my other two, preceded Men in Metal, and it preceded Midwest Fantasy Wargame as far as getting a proper complicated layout. And yet it seems like it's going to print just well, just really well. And for some of these images, they were darker, some of them were lighter, and I had to go through and manually adjust. This is where Mac Pages, all this is laid out using Mac Pages. Mac Pages really shines. Wow, this goes right to the edge, just as expected. A little bit of a border at the bottom, but you're not going to notice that flipping through. There's the picture, yeah, anyway. Yeah, that tower is fine. These tables. So much easier to do stuff in Mac Pages than Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word, I think I would have had to shoot myself if I had to tinker around with moving tables and images around. Yeah, this battering ram looks good. Sphinx. Example of play here, which read through the example of play because things are different. Here is one of the few color images, and this hieroglyphics and this little papyrus piece just looks fantastic on the page. Again, we're entering book 2. The color looks a little bit dull for the green. Same thing for the red. It looks a little bit dulled down. I think that's fine. I think it's okay. Digital version looks a little snappier. This image was from a movie poster that preceded. It got cut off a little. I don't care. I'm not moving that. Well, maybe I'll move it in a little bit. A couple pixels again. I'll remove the border and just nudge it just slightly. This dragon came from Lerner's Bestiary, which allegedly Gary Gygax used. Let's see what we got. Lerner's Bestiary, this along with the Encyclopedia Britannica. Or I'm sorry, no, this is Arneson's. Arneson was Lerner, and Gygax was Encyclopedia Britannica. But anyway, allegedly Arneson had a copy of this thing. This is a library version that got sold into the public, and it has tons of great woodcuts and things like that, some of which were appropriate and therefore got used. Some of them were not such great images. I hope I don't get the YouTube censorship going here, but if you need articles if you need woodcuts that would be in the public domain, because this is a reproduction of woodcuts that were created mostly in the 1800s. And so if you need artwork, there's more than enough fantasy artwork out there in the public domain that you don't have to use AI. And I hope I haven't screwed things up here. Let's get the book back centered up. We got to move move our camera back into position here. How's that? Line things back up. Line things back up. Okay. Let me get seated back down because I'm going long-winded. I'm already 11 minutes into this. Anyway, Learner, there are a couple images in the bestiary from Learner. This infernal, the book from which this Jinn picture, they're all demons from this book of infernal stuff from the French, all public domain again. This giant, pretty awesome. These goblins are from that infernal book. I call them goblin and hobgoblin. They seem to look good enough. This one I think came from Learner. This one came from Learner too, I think. Yeah. And again, the layout, Learner, right there. Learner on this one. I might have to nudge this one just slightly. And some of these I want borderless, and some of them I put a border in. I did not do a 2-column layout and try and fit images like you see in BX. BX, you either see images in one column, the other column, or across both columns, and they're either at the top or bottom of the page. For this one, I tried to balance it out, right? Sometimes they appear in the middle, sometimes they're on the edges. I wanted a balance, and I'm pretty happy with the number of images compared to the number of pages. There may be a little bit more here in the bestiary. Look at this troll. The author's, or the artist's initials are slightly cut off here, and there's a couple pixels. I might be able to get that on the page. Yep, this one goes to the edge. And then this one. I'm not necessarily convinced I like having this full image dive into this gutter and be next to this one, but then again, I'm out of pages for the bestiary, and this was such a cool pick. They're like, hey, here's a room. How would you like to rent this room with all these giant spiders and other bugs? And the dude's like, no, thank you. Okay. Yeah, a little argument over treasure divvying up and how to do auctions and stuff. This is reminiscent of that argument that you see in Mulvey Basic. Here we are in the magic items section. This one was hard to get to the right. It's hard. I wanted this picture because it has potions and alchemists and stuff, but it was hard to even get to the point where I felt satisfied with it. I think it's good enough. Looking at this here in the office, there's enough distinction. Like you can see the skeleton popping his head out. You can see the beams up here in the ceiling. There's enough definition. It works. But it did require some lightning and some other image manipulation with image magic to get it to look good. Doing a project like this, you learn a lot about how to do things. And my layout skills are probably horrible, but it looks good enough for me. Good enough for me. And my image skills, good enough. I went through a process where I'd find the image, then I'd convert it to grayscale. I'd desaturate the color, then I'd convert it to grayscale. Then I would do a little bit of either sharpening or non-sharpening. All of this turned out okay. That's good. I might move it over a bit. No, it's aligned with the tables, just like it was. It's aligned with the tables, and the drop shadow actually covers. That's pretty cool. The drop shadow here covers the page number. I like it. Page numbers are on the inside here instead of on the outside. I don't think I can fix that in Mac Pages. Here we go. We're in book 3 now, and again, I didn't try to make. Sometimes you see the entrance to these 3 volumes on the right side and sometimes the left. I didn't try to make it consistent. This one I had trouble getting it defined enough, but I think it's okay. Yeah, I'm liking it. And again, the guy that was complaining about these images in the background, I'm just not seeing it, dude. So I don't think your comment's valid, and I don't appreciate your 3-star rating because of it. But if you look, he rated his own stuff 5 stars. So I guess there's something to be said for self-love, and I'm definitely loving on myself right now for how good. If I break my arm during the course of this video, patting myself on the back, please know that I did it for a good cause, which is trying to get the open source community, or not the open source community, but get the OSR community most interested in this early period stuff that is very playable at the table once you fill in all the gaps and assemble all the pieces, parts in one place with a little bit of, smoothing over so that the language is consistent between all these different resources that I pulled together into this volume. And again, when we get to the bibliography, you'll see that quite a lot of reading and research went into this. This not being centered is not going to bother me too much. I might push this out to the edge and that out to the edge. I don't know. But then I'd have to move the table over and then I'd have more white space. It's such a... This is where I need a professional that has more of an artistic vision than me, I suppose. But so far, I'm not seeing a lot of image changes that I have to do. This one again, the ship, the dude stranded at sea, riding a barrel. This one, I mean, that's not meant to be a halfling, but he certainly appears to be a halfling, doesn't he? He's got too much of a grin and no beard, so he can't be a dwarf. This dude getting stabbed in the back is just perfect. His elbow's a little bit cut off, so I might have to pull him in a little bit. I don't know that I necessarily like this 3d6 table for thievery anymore. I might want to change it to 2d6, but 2d6 wasn't granular enough to catch the percentages. And again, the chance of thievery, if you're a non-thief, pretty craptastic chance to roll these things. But if I adjust them, then everything else has to adjust. Anyway, I did my best to try and give you a thievery system that was not based on percentile, because percentile just rings off key. It always has from the very start. And yeah, this Gustav Doré, again, Gustav, great stuff here for the anti-cleric or the evil high priest. Yeah, here we are in the area warfare. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to find anything wrong with the remainder of this. None of the rest of this stuff was pushed up at the edge. Okay, well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the flip through. And again, the bibliography is fairly extensive. We're looking at 3 pages, and then the illustration of all the rights. All the links to where you can find all this stuff. It's hyperlinked in the digital copy, but here it is. And of course, there actually is an index with an Easter egg. I like it. Hope you do too. Talk to you later.